Welcome, Poggers, to another episode of the Pog State, a third one. We're already up to a third one for 2026. Isn't it absolutely insane? This time around, I'm Atlas. I'm still, actually, I would have been Atlas anyway, even if it wasn't the next time round. However, this time I am joined by Dagon Wolf and Ox, and we're ready to break down the group battle and how it all unfolded. Gentlemen, it was a little bit weird, wacky, and crazy up until the very, very end. I'm still kind of reeling. This is just after the Gen G 3-0 clobbering over HLE to send them to the Nether Realm, and they are just no longer participating in Korean League of Legends for the next, 2 months or something?
Until April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, whenever LCK starts. But also, it's after another 3-0 that happened, the T1 3-0, right?
Yeah, that was a big one too.
Which is
a lot more expected.
But one of the rarest moments that you're going to get in Pog State history, because we're very awake. Because we did not have a crazy last couple of days. We didn't come off of a crazy series. I mean, it was crazy, but long. So
it's also a best of 5 3-0. So it's like the shortest possible day.
I'm just feeling everyone's energy, and this feels very different. It feels very different.
I think I'm going to be boring today. Generally, a little bit less fun after the easy days.
Yeah, basically, Wolf has this is the way that it works. It's like he ramps up in energy, and then he goes down. And then up again at the very end. And so, we get the spike normally for the Pog State. Not this time around, though, because we are right in the middle of the workday.
Yeah.
Right where you kind of want it. Okay. I don't know where to start, gentlemen. Sort of breaking down how this group stage went. Maybe we should adjudicate our teams and sort of how they've done in our new 2026 meta, the new ecosystem. Orcs' eyes are wide.
Well, elephant in the room. I don't think HLE's done very well.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are addressing it immediately.
Yeah.
The elephant was really well hidden, I thought.
They seem to have done significantly better than the Bros.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was the Bros. The Bros are 0-5.
Do you
But
see...
they're in play-ins.
Yeah,
so
they're in play-ins.
Explain this.
I see them there.
Mr. Degon.
What am I explaining? Which part?
Defend the Bros.
Oh, defend the Bros. Defend the Bros. I thought we were talking about Hanwha here, who are eliminated, and the Bros are still alive.
The Bros...
That was my defense. That was my defense. There really isn't much defense.
Wolf illustrated it already. The Bros eliminated HLE.
Yeah, they won the one game against HLE, and that was
enough.
That was enough, yeah, to say the least.
I think what we're seeing here is the power of teamwork. Because, yes, Gen G may have been the ones to 3-0 HLE, but just like on the Rift, it's a team. It's Group Baron are a team. So even though Bro didn't win any series, they're just they're part of the team that also...
Yeah, even though they only brought a crappy slingshot and, Gen G have, automatic weapons. That slingshot still, made HLE trip that
They
one time.
were that Alistair that kept getting caught by thresh hooks.
I know you've been playing a lot of TFT, Max. So they're just that one-star unit. He's just giving you the trait, right? But they're part of the team, right?
Absolutely.
No items on them. Right?
It's the Vi that's there, so you can play Seraphine later. That's what it is.
There you go.
It's the Briar giving you that Noxus, It's just hanging out, doing absolutely nothing.
The Bros are... It's like what we said at the beginning of the season. There are 5 players that haven't played together, and a new-ish coach that are all still trying to gel. And Hanwha Life Esports were world championship winning, international championship winning, Asian game championship winning caliber players that are better than them, but just got unlucky based off of this.
They're the first stand defending champs. What was it? You actually had an interaction on Twitter recently. By recently, I mean 25 minutes ago, where you were saying that HLE were the first team globally to be eliminated. That wasn't exactly true because the LPL has 1 billion teams. So obviously someone's going to get eliminated earlier. But that doesn't sound relevant in my brain. But the fact that one of the very first teams eliminated is the first stand champion is just so funny.
I had an interesting
stat. Weird.
100% of first stand winners actually come 10th in the next LCK Cup. Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. That's my kind of sample size, baby. I'm into that.
I was pretty I thought that Bro.
Wolf's like, get out of here. Let's get out. Let's get out.
I mean, like Bro.
I could stay a little longer.
They were a team that I think most expected to be bottom 2 or worst. But I actually thought their players were pretty, like the players they have are pretty strong, despite the fact that there is no synergy there. And especially because, there was DRX, KT, also big question marks on the other group. I thought Bro might be able to take a single win. But only taking 2 games was, for me, like I was actually kind of disappointed. I thought Bro could have done more. They took a game off of Hanwha, but we now know that that's really not that impressive.
Wow, I thought you were getting out, Wolf.
I mean, frankly, it's just isn't like we gave. I gave Hanwha so many excuses in their losses. I was like, I mean, Kanavi's like, they need to put him on a leash. Like they're still working on their synergy. Yep. They're still trying to figure it out, but they looked lost. And we're seeing players like Zeus and Delight just not perform as well as we set for them. Because
I would say just Delight. Zeus is performing.
Delight in the last
well.
series was just him pretty much, but
yeah.
I mean, everyone else is kind of playing their level. But I think, like, what I'm really getting at here is that I think when the players that who are pretty like, they perform on their own without the help of others, like Zeus, who's pretty much always been, like, able to have a consistent performance, in my mind, except some certain matchups, like against Doran. He generally, like, is Zeus. Like, he's Zeus leveled most of the time. Same with Delight, in my mind. Usually it doesn't underperform individually. Are starting to fall apart. When you see Zeka on Azir, you're like, is it good to Zeka Azir? Is it bad Zeka Azir? We don't know. You're not really sure what you're gonna get, but you don't feel like, well, he'll get it done for sure. You're like, well, hopefully he won't ruin the game. And like sometimes he doesn't. But when it's the other parts that aren't working, you're like, is this team ever gonna figure it out? Like I'm starting to worry now. I told everyone, don't worry until the end of the season. Now is the time if you're a Hanwha fan to worry. Like this might be a Rise Group team.
I mean,
they have a lot of time to get ready.
Yep.
I think that the thing I think about is firstly, obviously, Delight really underperforming, and you think about Peanut now not being there, and how long Delight and Peanut were together, like even before HLE on Genji as well. And also, I think a thing to kind of reference is when Faker stepped out from T1, and how bad everyone looked without Faker there. And I feel like we're kind of seeing how much of a role
HLE is way worse without Faker.
Well, yeah, but I think we're kind
I
of
haven't seen them with Faker, but T1's still in the tournament.
I think we're kind of seeing how much of a role Peanut has had on this team, and him going, and how much he contributed.
Yeah.
And him now not being present, I think a lot of the systems they have is just completely fallen apart. And players who, you saw the impact they had on the map, and and the impact they had in the Rift, are just kind of, to a degree, just lost. And they're trying to obviously bring Kanavi and link up with him and bring up to speed. But you also think like support. To me, support, obviously, synergy with your lane partner is really important, but jungle support synergy is absolutely vital. And so to me, it's like not a surprising thing that Delight is underperforming. And that's not blaming it on Kanavi. It's more talking about the absence of Peanut being a factor in why Delight now looks so much worse.
Maybe the reason why Delight didn't look so good today is that the way that he figures building that synergy with Kanavi works is just giving in to his lizard brain.
Yeah.
He's just making the crazy play because he knows that Kanavi's going to be there no matter what. And so he just has to go.
And that's I'm gonna reference a lot of just today's match against Genji, just because it felt like today they felt lost after like maybe 12 minutes.
They did that every loss, though, like the whole tournament as well. Like, they would win the early game. Remember that Kanavi Aatrox game where he was, like, killing people between turrets?
Yeah.
And then it was time for him to stop doing that, and they lost.
It's the stuff that happens in the early game, that to me is like, okay, that's chemistry, that's figuring out, like, today there was the Trundle pillar, and then Zeka flash forward after already getting Chovy's flash. Like, that's weird, that's dumb. But that's not lost. That's just kind of synergy, dumb chemistry. You'll figure it out later. Where they feel lost is after they get the lead. They don't know. They don't keep track of what the win condition is for their team and then have the discipline to stick to it. It's like, okay, misfortune is our win condition here in this fight. It's very difficult to play it based off of the composition that Genji have created for Gumayusi. So Guma has to not step up and touch waves that he's not allowed to when he doesn't have flash. Or if he does have flash, not to burn it because then he doesn't have it for the team fight. And then Kanavi can't just go in when he's like, this looks like a good fight.
Every fight looks like a good fight.
The fight that comes to mind for kind of what you're talking about to me the most is the game where they could have won if they had gotten the Baron, and they would have won the game. Probably could have won the game in time. It would have been tough, but like it was viable.
But
Game
even
two,
then, like
game
they
two.
should have just won that game.
But
regardless.
Delight like flashed to engage and like didn't hit anybody, and it's like those moments where there's clearly desperation and there's not a clear structure as to how they want to team fight. They're like each person is kind of going, I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to get multiple people with my rel engage, or I'm supposed to get the 80 carry with my rel engage. The rest of the team's looking at like a completely different target, which is why Genji just basically took them and parted them into 2 fights, like every single team fight. They're like, okay, you guys are over here. We take the favorable fight over here, and like Hanwha couldn't figure out how to keep everybody grouped or together, which is why they probably shouldn't have been playing a misfortune comp like that in the first place.
I also think like today's series, they were always going to get decimated by Genji. Like Genji is the example of the team who they've kept the roster together. They're the absolute best in the league. And when it comes to like crisp team fighting, like it was always going to be a massive uphill battle. But it's the fact that
And
like
it's not Worlds yet.
they were even struggling with this like against
Nongshim?
much weaker teams, right? That's the thing that's mind blowing is that like if we'd come to this point in Super Week and HLE were like 3-1 or 4-0, and then they got blasted by Genji, it'd be like whatever,
Yeah.
It's not
We
a big
weren't that
deal.
hard on D+, for example, when they got decimated by T1.
Exactly, right? But it's the fact that like they were failing at this against teams who were also like Bro, you were just talking about how they're still figuring out what they're doing. They still haven't won a series, and yet HLE looked lost against them at times.
Yeah. It's kind of dire straits. But there are a bunch of teams that are still left in the competition. And I think that, Wolf and I were having a conversation as we were coming over here. It's once again T1, Genji, and the rest.
Yeah, we're back to that.
We're back to it. So I think the interesting conversation is who's third? Who's best of the rest? Who do we think is going to be able to step up? Because that's when the conversation does get interesting.
I think it's a player that probably deserves to be on one of those rosters, and the 4 other dudes on his team.
Teddy's good, but is he that good?
It's not Teddy.
Is it dieable?
It's Diable. Like, just watching Diable this last week
He
was
is
just
diabolable.
such a
isn't he?
pleasure.
Diable.
Like, watching him just kind of try to 1v5 some of these fights, and even last week, because I wasn't here last week for the what series? The T1 series. It's just so fun to watch him. He is one of the most exciting players in the LCK and one of the most exciting players in the world. And we said that last year. It's the same thing this year, even more so. And I think with that squad, and I'm slowly starting to trust Vikla. I don't know.
Dude,
when
it's the
to
year of
and
Vikla,
not.
man.
But yeah,
it's
because it was the Battle of the Years, wasn't it?
yeah, it was.
Battle of the Year of Vikla and the year of Dudu, and Vikla won out. So
Must be his year.
Must
That's,
be his year.
That's the confirmation.
Yeah.
I stand by the fact that like the victory of the Stove League, the mid-season, the between seasons, is B&K keeping Diablo.
crazy.
Like it blows my
also got to
mind
keep
that they
Raptor.
still have this roster. It's
Like, what if
insane.
Hanwha had Raptor? Like, how did they not get Raptor?
How are we having that conversation? By the way,
I don't
how are we having that conversation?
I know, but like, but like Kanavi was somewhat of an unknown, and we didn't know how his style would mesh. I feel like Raptor would have been great for HLE. Maybe they still think he's too young, but like he's got a lot of experience now. I don't know how nobody got Raptor. It's insane. Like for D
Korean national team Kanavi not good enough.
Yeah,
D
there's no way you would have known it.
And DNS at the time, like probably were the only other people who had like the funding to get it. Like Owner's not going to get replaced, right?
Yep.
Canny's not going to get replaced, although he might have. But ultimately they decided to keep him. Han was the only other team that could have probably tried to snipe Raptor, but they wanted Kanavi, and luckily for them they got that, because if they didn't get him, they'd be with the Challengers jungler right now probably. It's not working though, so it's a little crazy.
Maybe they're going to be with the Challengers jungler anyway.
Yeah, it could
You know, who knows? That is something that they can freely do.
I don't think it's
But,
going to happen.
That's mind blowing.
I
got
think there's
time.
going to be a
They've
Rise
got
Group
time.
team. I'm done saying that though. Like I'm not seeing any. I'm not even seeing incremental improvements, to be honest. It feels like to me I'm not seeing even incremental improvements. It almost feels like regression.
Some standout matches that we do need to sort of reminisce about, and I think this is a good way to.
Genji vs HLE. We could.
Okay. No, I think the most complicated one was KT versus
Yes.
T1.
Did you guys enjoy the 34-43 like clock?
I loved it.
Yeah,
That was
like,
really fun.
As much as like the format is wonky, and at the beginning of the week, I think there was a clip of Faker saying like, "Are we really going to start in play-ins if we go undefeated because our 3 other teams lose?" And
Yes.
that was true. That's part of the issue, and maybe you like share strats or whatever for teams in your group, but also it led to an amazing, entertaining, engaging final day. Even if we kind of knew who was going to win, the mini game within the mini game was fun. That was so cool.
It was fun. I will say that obviously in this the reason why we have this format with the time being the decider is so that we don't have to have like an extra broadcast day. Everyone has to come in. It's like obviously a lot of moving parts to make a tiebreaker happen. Or like for example, KT would have to come in today.
Yeah,
and
be
then HLE play this
alongside.
long
Yeah, no.
series, and then like they have to play against KT, and we have this super giga day.
Honestly, that would be mega hype.
It
though.
would be hype.
And you would have been so energetic for the Pogs.
I would have been. But like, I think the most legitimate way to determine whether Hanwha Life or KT deserves it, if they are tied in points, would have been to play a best of one between the two as a tiebreaker. But because of the reasons all listed and how complicated that all is, that's why it comes down to this. I think in this one particular circumstance, it was super hype. I don't know if it'll ever be like that
Yeah,
again, but it was
I agree.
kind of cool.
Yeah, I kind of want to address all of this rigmarole around people saying that the format's bad, blah, blah, blah. The format has to be different because otherwise the LCK Cup is just a little LCK at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Like, we do need to have a way to make it different. You can not like it if you want to, but every team starts off on, like, in their group, and you need to understand that, like, the fun of this is having our teams divided into groups, and the fact that like the first seeds get to sort of like do the snake draft and like build what they think is going to be their winning team and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think that like it adds an extra element, and yeah, you might think that certain teams, especially if you're an HLE fan, you might think that certain teams got a rough go of it, but ultimately HLE had their lives in their own hands. You still just need to win more, and then you get seeded. And even if you're seeded into the play-ins, you can imagine Coach Song is exactly where he wants to be right now.
I think
You know?
the only problem with this format, like in my mind, is something that like we couldn't necessarily control, and it's technically fair, right? Is that we had our top two teams be the leaders and starters of the group because of their standings last year, but those are no longer the two top teams. Like Hanwha Life was the top of the group; they were the ones to make the first.
If we
pick,
hadn't
right?
have seen any of these teams play, though, I mean, I'm still probably putting them top of the group.
Sure, I'm just saying if it was Genji and T1, who are clearly our two strongest teams in different groups, it would have been a lot more fun.
It would have been different. Yeah.
But instead, like we have the same top two teams in the same group because Genji obviously picked because they got to pick first T1 because they knew T1 was the strongest team right now, the Kespa Cup defending champions. So that ended up putting us in this really wonky situation where it's like Hanwha Life is supposed to be like the top dog of the group, and in fact was the worst team in the group. So that
they
creates
could
a
have
weird
been the best
situation.
team in the group.
But the thing is, I think we still ended up with like the group scores between them were pretty even, right? Even though the group
Elder was looking really powerful.
like even though the way the groups like the standings within the groups were obviously very differently balanced out. Like the fact that HLE could have been first or last, right? And everyone was very closely matched, and then obviously Group Baron was like very stacked. At the end of the day, it was 16-14, so it's still like kind of shook out that like
Yeah, and like if,
that was
if
interesting.
KT had have been able to beat Nongshim, like it could have been a completely different story. Like there are a lot of things that like it did come down to the wire. Absolutely, the fact that we had it completely like neck and neck on 14-14 at the very last day, I think that shows that it did kind of work.
I think there's no way to factor in like because the thing is, you know, we know now that obviously T1 are the strongest. Like T1 and Genji are the two strongest, but I think there's no way to factor in that like HLE are weaker.
Yeah. Because if you want
Well, I can tell you that like Genji, like for example, if T1 was like I don't know, it's to say you couldn't pick T1 for any reason. I don't know if they would pick HLE because HLE wasn't looking great up until before this tournament as well, and like there were rumblings that scrims weren't going well for them. I don't think that they get picked. I don't know how to make it fair though, because like the way we have it now is like the top two teams just get it automatically, but that.
I mean, it
in a
depends
year's
on what
time,
your
we'll-
league looks like, right? Because if you have like a top 3 team league,
Yeah.
then it looks wonky, right? It
Which
looks
is what
really
it looked like
wonky.
last year, right? Last year it was T1, Genji, Hanwha clearly better than everyone else. And also, I pushed back on that a little bit because Kespa Cup, who was in the finals?
HLE, yeah.
Yeah, actually. So I think it makes sense. And then if you look globally, most of the top teams that were top teams last year are still atop of their league. BLG, Anyone Legend, still there in LPL. Cloud9, still there. Team Liquid is the only one that's kind of whatever.
That is a good counterexample.
so-
I wonder like maybe I'm just getting lost in this because
Maybe
it
like
feels,
you just needed someone to make the executive order of being like, nah, T1's better than HLE.
Honestly, that's the only way.
That's the only
no,
way.
I mean, it just feels like though that when
But I
now that
think
we
that
know
you-
everything, it feels wrong. But like obviously at the time, especially as you mentioned the Kespa Cup finals, like
My thing is like when we were loading into the very first game of the LCK Cup, and I looked down and saw that these were the groups, I was like, that makes sense. You know, I didn't have any issue with it.
And the thing is, like, you know, H. Lee obviously did massively underperform, but like you can't just make the executive decision that like, oh, this team's better than this team before like it.
sure,
playing
no,
out
you'd have to
thoroughly.
you'd have to like have like a committee of people who decide who the best two teams are or something like, which is just silly.
But even then, like I think
it doesn't really work.
To me, I still think that's an unfair thing. Like the thing is, like we can all categorically agree that the best two domestic performing teams last year were Gen G and HLE.
Yeah.
But
And so
I agree with your idea.
Yeah.
Like that.
I
seems
just
like a
think
cool
that
idea to
my
prevent this from
bottom
happening.
line is that because Genji and T1 were in the same group, it just ended up being very wonky because they were the top teams.
And the crazy thing as well is how Nongshim managed to turn it around. I guess we can have a bit of a conversation about that as well, because coming into this, based on what we saw in the Kesper Cup,
They
I
look
was
bad.
thinking that like Nongshim were just going to be
They look real bad.
a
That looked like
travesty.
budget scout. We're like, what happened?
Yeah,
we
and
did not get the scout we thought.
Taeyun was just like picked up right
Ghost
where he
Taeyun.
left off in
Not
the
Ghost,
LCK.
but Ghost Taeyun or
Boo.
Yeah,
Boo Taeyun.
Taeyun was not great. It was just a little bit of a disaster. But then they're the team that gets the upset over HLE. Like, I know we talk about the bro picking up a game, and that was honestly, you know, what did tip the scales. However, Nongshim getting the upset was the biggest one.
And beating KT.
Yeah?
Like, I think Wolf was the only one that predicted out of our side that Nongshim would get the win and not KT.
I think
Umti as well.
I think also, yeah, you might.
Yeah,
there
there was a bit of
was
a
one I
split.
did only predict. It was me predicting DRX over Nongshim. I think was
Yeah.
the one that I was the only one that thought that was going to happen. But, yeah, is it like Hanwha regression? You know, that's like making me almost like rebuild the past. Like,
Yeah,
I think so.
I think
a
so.
little bit.
because like I don't know, it just.
I mean, Hanwha are a team that do look good when they are better. The way that I sort of explain the way that they play is almost like arrogance. So they get that
Yeah.
lead, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we deserve to win now. And so they get sloppy.
Yeah.
And they're playing as if they have advantages, even when they've thrown them away.
Is it
The
that
thing
Hanwha
is-
got worse, or did the rest of the teams get better since
Hanwha
Kesper
got
Cup?
worse.
I mean,
Hanwha
it's
got worse.
both.
I think Hanwha got worse, and other teams got together a bit better. And also, like Casper Cup is such an early tournament and isn't fully indicative of team strength, right? It's still
It
very.
was really
early.
indicative of Genji. I'm really glad they turned it around.
But like the thing is as well, I think Casper doesn't give a full picture because it's super early, right? Teams haven't fully settled, and it's also not necessarily as serious as like
How dare you?
the full. Even though this isn't
Take
the
it
full
back.
season, this is only LCK Cup, but like
Bro Champs 20.
teams will take
Absolutely.
it to different levels of seriousness. I also just think that there's been plenty of times where there's like rumblings of a team, like, you know, they're not doing well in scrims, they haven't got things together, you know, they look a little bit rough, and then they get it together, right? And then you don't think about that again. This is an example where obviously it didn't come together, and they did really underperform, and I think that's kind of sticking in your mind. But like, I mean, even last year, HLE didn't look like, it wasn't to this level, but they didn't look super hot in the group stage of LCK Cup. And I specifically remember saying, because I sat here on the Pog State and I said, I don't think HLE get it together. I don't think they're a good fearless team. I remember saying this. I said, I don't think they're a good fearless team for various reasons. I was like, yeah, Delight is very much engaged support. Zek is very much like a melee merchant. And I said, I don't think they get it together. I don't think they're going to do well. And then they went and won first stand. I remember because I looked like a dumbass. But even then they struggled, and then they got it together. But like
You
this-
look way better now, Dan.
It had nothing to do with the prediction day.
but the point I'm making is that like there are other situations where teams have struggled, and even HLE has struggled and then got it together. This is an example where they haven't. But I think like, you know, teams will struggle. I think that no one was really expecting HLE, even if they're looking rough, to not make it at all and bomb.
No, we
this
should have
hard.
expected it. Because when does HLE fall apart? After losing a best of 5 to T1. That's what
T1
happened.
Did,
They
destroy
did it
them in that finals
exactly,
as well.
and
It was not
they
close.
died for the rest of the year. They were just gone. Kesper Cup final, best of 5, boom.
At the beginning of 2020.
HLE obliterated.
even before 2026.
And this is the problem, right? They need to save that T1 best of 5 until way later. Although they did manage to get through it. If you remember, the reason why T1 didn't make it to first stand is largely because HLE managed to knock them out on the way. That wasn't a best of 3. It was a best of 5.
It was a best of 5. It
Oh,
was the
I
most
thought it
hyped
was a
best of 5.
actually.
I was sick.
no.
So like they got through that best of 5, but losing to T1 seems to be the kryptonite in a best of 5. I figured it out.
Anyone believing in D plus Kia?
Nope.
Nope.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a tiny not even slightly.
I was watching yesterday the T1 DK series, and I was just like, because I'm a bit of a fan. I have to say, there's a bit of DK bias in me. I just like the team. I think they're cool. It was depressing, like just watching them. Like
You knew they
and
were
this-
going to lose the whole
yeah,
time.
and
You
and
knew
it
there was not a
happens-
chance.
It happens so often where, like, I'm seeing how it could work, but it feels like they always have to put in triple the effort of
Yes.
their opposition
Yes.
in order to win. And you can see they are doing that, but they're a loose cannon, and like the hose is flailing about and just spraying the walls with water, and it's just a mess, and it doesn't work, and it just fills me with anxiety, and I really didn't like it.
I felt really bad for Korea.
Yep.
And not the T1 support, as you may struggle to pick up with my accent, but Korea. The
Ah,
deep
car
support.
ear.
Car ear.
Korea, as in like the things that we have, at least up until now.
Yes.
Maybe not on
Allegedly.
publication of this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a rough series, and it felt like there were definitely moments where it felt honestly like Fake was picking on him.
Yeah.
Felt like he was like the youngest, least experienced
Wasn't
player
just
there.
Yeah, he's
Faker,
like-
it was owner every Nocturnal.
Well,
We
yeah,
did
the
a
Nocturnals
segment
as
on
well,
it,
but also
bro.
like it was the first one it was like the Azir one, and it's almost like he said like he's free pickings. It's like get rid of this guy. Like there was the Azir like on the flank, he sees the Karma just one shots him. He's like, oh yeah, easy as that. Definitely a bit like exploitation of the person who's not had that much experience. I think maybe D Plus has time to grow. I don't think in the LCK Cup my personal expectation is that any team is going to challenge Genji at T1, but what I'm interested in is how do we think D Plus are going to match up against BNK Fearex? Because to me right now, that's the battle for third place.
Yeah, that is a hype matchup. And I actually think that it's a really cool one to talk about because I'm really high on BNK right now. And I do think that, like, I think Nongstream on a good day could also challenge. I think that there's sort of like a trifecta going on there, like a trinity of players sort of vying for that spot. But I think right now BNK is sort of my pick. They're like DK aren't good right now. Now BNK is the best. That's my new favorite.
For me, when I look at individual players, except Smash, and like you can make a debate about whether you think Smash or Diablo is stronger. Like Diablo looks more hype, but Smash seems a little more stable. Like it's hard to like definitively say which one of those two players is better.
It was always hard in Challenger as well, if you remember. Like when we used to watch them play back and forth. Like both of them were the prodigies.
When you look at every other role, I'm like, okay, D plus is the better. Like, is Shu worse than Clear? No. Is Lucid worse than Raptor? But when you look at how the teams play as a 5-man unit, you're like, oh, it's BNK 100% like every time.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if they don't play as well individually. And I think D plus keeps getting wins because Showmaker has his Majai's game where he pops off, like he wins lane, Smash gets ahead in lane, and then we're like, oh, is D plus good? But then when they play against teams who are actually coordinated, they look completely lost. They're like, oh, I had a lead. It's like kind of like HLE. They don't know how to play with their advantages. They got lane advantages. They had the better players, but
They need Beryl to take time off of the military to do coach voice. That's what they need to do.
Coach Voice is dead now. It was up until today only.
The only
Beryl, your job.
the only thing I'll say with the roll by roll thing is I do think Kellen is better than Korea.
Yes.
Okay, that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll give you that one.
Wait, and that's actually what I was going to point to. The way that I feel about Smash and career right now is you're like, Smash is great and his ceiling is high. But right now it feels like he might be held back by his support and it's early in their duo ship. And now it's kind of this, that's how I felt last year with Diablo. Like, Diablo is this crazy kid, and Kellen just got kicked off of D plus Key and couldn't hold down the job compared to Moham. So it feels a little similar right now in terms of that. So I do want to give it time, even though the lows of career feel lower than
I think
the
Career's
lows of
had
Kellen.
some good moments. Like I don't trust Kellen fully yet, but I do think right now he's much better than Career at this moment in
It
time.
is hard to get past
Career looked
the
really-
Kellen of old,
Yeah.
but Kellen's changed, man.
Career
He's
was really
just
good in
now.
Kesper
They
Cup,
led the
too.
league in duo kills
I
last year.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. My expectation when Kellen came onto the team, I think everyone's expectation of this roster was
yeah.
quite low.
Yes.
I,
I
think
was like,
Kellen
mine was low.
had
Can Diablo perform with an anchor?
Yes,
That's what I was
I
thinking.
think Kellen had a really good year last year. I think as a duo they were really strong, and at times they were just like the stars of this roster. So I have a lot of confidence in Kellen. With Career, I think he has had good moments, but it still feels like he's very new, and the pressure he was
Too much
under.
volatility in a role that requires stability, right?
Yeah, he definitely felt
Outside
like
of Beryl,
he
who's
crum-
the best and not stable at all.
he definitely crumbled under the pressure in their most recent series, and
Yeah.
I think he is someone who, given time, you know, could look to grow into it. But I think also one of the issues is that like often some of the pairings that I think can work best is when you have a more veteran in one role and they can help the less experienced player in the other role. Good example is like Ruler and Duro, right? Often talked about is how much Ruler has helped Duro out, whereas obviously with this D plus bot lane, they're both pretty unexperienced. So I don't know how that's going to impact his development and getting up to speed, but
Yeah.
you know,
Let's talk to Lens about that.
Hands and pays. Carry and pays.
Yeah. Pay it forward, T1. This
There
is
was-
all a hand.
There were commenters today talking about that. The
Really?
impact, yes, the impact that Delight was having. So B&K, I think, over D plus, and I don't know if there's another team that's
well, I think
Close enough.
the thing with
Nongshim.
Nongshim and KT is
Oh, KT are definitely not in that
KT is
position.
not it.
But I just think like because the thing is it was still a close series, right? But I also just the thing I view both these teams as like because the thing with Nongshim is yes they won the series, but it did come down to the wire, and yes they did upset HLE, but we have very different opinion on HLE right now, and then they did lose to DRX, so they also you know like where do we actually put Nongshim? Because like yes they beat KT, but it was a struggle, and we also don't rate KT that highly.
I think if we
And they did lose to
try to
DRX.
assess Nongshim too much, then we look at them too much, and Taeyun implodes.
That's my thing,
That's
right?
what happens.
That like
So
I-
just don't think about them too
it's
much.
like
and
in
they'll be
my
great.
mind we have T1 Genji extremely stable, top of the league.
Yeah.
D plus being KFX who are like fighting for third.
Yeah.
And both solid. And then we just have
nebulously Nongshim KT drifting about.
Yeah.
KT have
completely.
two players, right? Like they have Cuz and BDD. Although Cuz recently hasn't been looking as hot. to
They've
be
got
honest.
BDD though.
Yeah. And then
That one time.
Nongshim has Sponge and Kingen. Yeah, they're the ones. It's not Taeyun, it's not Scout, it's like Sponge and Kingen.
Yeah, and they also have to go against Lahens most games.
So like
Or
we have
some
two
games.
teams that are basically like have really strong, robust parts to them, and then the rest is like anything
Honestly,
could happen on the given day.
Honestly, I think both teams are kind of like a sitcom where they just have occasional guests who show up. It's like, hey, Taeyun's here. Good to see you.
And you look at the opening credits, you're like, is my favorite guest star going to show up again?
Yeah, it's like the crowd. "Oh, Taeyun." He's just there for one episode. You don't see him for the rest of the season.
I guess the question is, what has more spotlight on it? 5th place or 6th? Bottom of Legend or top of Rise?
No, we talked about this too much last
All
year.
right, all right,
Devon.
all right, all right,
Please.
all right. I'm sorry.
If anybody
I'm sorry.
asks me this year, is it better to be 5th place in Legend Group?
No,
or
Spotlight.
first place
It
in
was
Rise
Spotlight.
Group, I'm actually going to take this pen and put it to their head. Okay. Not actually, by the way, just to be clear. This is not a real threat. It's not a real threat.
On the Rift in League of Legends, he's talking about.
All right, I think it's now time to talk about our predictions for the play-ins. We do have the play-ins format here that has now been filled out for us.
I mean,
with how things are
I just wanted to
calculated.
raise the point that I think if you're doing score predictions for a series, right, you should get a point for getting the correct team right, and for the correct score.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean,
I
Since
disagree.
I have 3 of those scores.
the problem is that over the last, how many years has the LCK and Korean League of Legends been running for? Like 20 odd or whatever, 15. It has been not that way. So
Why?
the precedent is not quite set. So you'd have to make a groundbreaking change.
Well, is it time to break the fourth wall and introduce the person that might be able to make that change?
Whoa. Wait, there is a person that can make that change?
Maybe.
Can somebody make that change?
Could somebody make that change?
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
What do you think about making the change, Zombie? We're talking behind the camera now. So basically what Orcs is saying is if you predict the correct team that wins, then you get a point.
Yeah.
And then score comes in immediately afterwards, and if you get the score right, you also get a point.
I think the score should be in a tiebreaker.
That's what I think.
There it
That is how it was used. That's why I am currently the one.
But it's just like because we're predicting score for all these series, and then like if I say BFX 3-0 and Wolf says BFX 3-1 and he's right, it means nothing.
I always
I get
thought
to
that
talk smack, you know.
But
I
it's
always
like,
hated-
it's not- it's
the
gonna be a
whole point.
3-0,
The whole
really.
point of predictions is only talking smack.
no, but also the whole point of predicting the score is just for the broadcast fun.
The whole point of predictions is just for the broadcast fun.
Yeah.
The whole point of the LCK is just for the broadcast fun.
That's the whole point of us doing anything.
That's true.
The whole
That's
point
actually-
of LEC is
if
for the
there's any
LCK broadcast
takeaway-
fun.
Like we could just scrap the scores in total. Like honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying if we're gonna tally it up, we might as well tally it up correctly, guys. I'm channeling my inner chronicler here, right?
Chronicler would not be upset about this. He doesn't care
Guys,
about predictions.
I lived with chronicler. He would. You know what? He would complain to me about this constantly.
I don't know.
Oh
This
my
does
And he said,
feel like
I can't
revisionist
bring it
history.
up because if I bring this up at work, they'll all laugh at me about caring about. But please, when I'm gone, I need you to fight for this. This is my last
his
wish.
last wish? His
this
last
is my
request?
last wish, right?
No, we should definitely deny it.
This is my last wish. As I leave the LCK, this needs to change. As
I'm gonna
the
call
prediction
bullshit on
king.
this one. I'm normally a very trusting person, but I'm smelling it.
Last
I'm telling
wish?
you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Last wish would be D+ winning worlds.
I was gonna
Dude,
say
they already
getting
won-
back the
Guys,
kingdom
winning
of the
finals
lucid
MVP.
fandom.
They already won worlds, right? Do you think Chronicler cares about anything more than predictions? No.
No,
You know, he gave everyone those letters, right? That's literally just all mine said.
he also did wear a predictions crown and murdered Wadir.
Ex-
Yeah, we had to
Exactly.
bring Wadid back to life. It was actually very painful.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
My
true.
letter literally just said, "Hey Dan, sort out the prediction things. Also was cool living with you. Bye."
I think you,
nerd.
wait,
Yeah.
you forgot to mention the part where you actually showed each season that you were both in that he beat you in Preds. He actually had the results.
Yeah, he literally put PS turn it over and he put all the results down. Yeah.
He also predicted that Hana would drop out of this out of the LCK Cup as well.
He actually did put his predictions for next year and said, "Please submit these to G-Sun." I didn't.
One thing that we haven't addressed is where the predictions are sitting right now in the LCK Cup here for our entire global broadcast team. Currently, Daniel Orcs Harrison and Wolf Schroeder are both sitting at 22 out of 25, which
I did
is a
get more
pretty
score
impressive
predictions,
score.
though. I did, so I'm.
Yeah,
Well,
so
it doesn't actually
technically,
matter 'cause we
Wolf
don't get
wins
No, he
points
said
the
it was a
tiebreaker.
tiebreaker though. Yeah, I saw.
Yeah,
you
so
don't get
Wolf
points
wins
for
the
it.
tiebreaker.
Yeah, but I did win the tiebreaker. Just to
Yeah.
be clear.
We have the same number, so apparently it doesn't matter.
No, it does matter because somebody already said it breaks
I have the
tie.
faster game time, basically.
Yeah.
You know.
So he reached 34-43. No, he did it before.
Should have trusted DNS to take a game off BNK. Sorry, man.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, immediately after him are the play-by-plays. We're sitting at 21, both of us. Then you've got Wadid and Umpty at 19,
Extra
slacking.
gamers, solid.
Wadid was really leading last year.
It was
so-
the early season super believers.
Yeah,
Umpty and Wadid both went way too hard on the supers.
Yeah. Do not supers is basically the predictions idea that you need to go with there. Just
Did
read
not
the
smart.
acronym. Did not smart. Yeah. And Dagon also did not smart because he's sitting at 18. So bringing up the rear just a little bit here. But he has to because when you look at it and you see a 0-5 for the bros, you know that Dagon's not going to have
not
a very
eating
good
well.
looking
Honestly,
Preds.
if he didn't pred bro any of these 3 times,
Wait, he
would
actually-
actually be in second place
Yeah.
with the play-by-plays.
And I was
You'd be
almost
up with us.
very close to getting it right in the DRX one as well.
Oh, we're
Until
counting closes now?
We decided.
We're counting. Oh, guys. Oh, I was so close to this prediction. Actually, guys, if we're counting closes.
I like how you're getting
If I
salty, but
still-
the more you get your way, the more behind you get because Wolf has more score predictions correct.
No, I just think it's funny to mention the close thing.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Anyway,
think
that's
that was
our
funny.
little conversation. Is that enough? Is that enough?
No, I just think it's funny he mentioned the close thing. No, we can move on. I don't
I'll
care.
put the
So now we can have a little bit of a chat about what the play-ins is going to look like, and I think I'm going to come to Dagon first because DRX versus the Bros. Do we get a Coach Song does it again belief system here, where lowest possible seed, coming in, no expectation. Let's get him.
Yeah, we were so close too. We bros, we're so close too, right? But it's a best of 3,
Yeah.
which means if that best of 5 was a best of 3.
Wait, so round 1's a best of 3, and then it's a best of 5.
Yes.
Yep.
And is the first round single elim?
Oh,
First round is single limb, best of 3.
It's do or die.
Danger.
Play-ins
Yeah.
is like brutal.
I think they learned from last year where like I think the round 1 was best of 5 play-ins, but they're like, it'll be the bottom of the barrel.
That's why
teams.
I think that's why I was getting confused about the Hano T1 series.
Because that's what happened last year.
It just
yeah.
felt, it felt so weird. Anyway,
Yeah. And if it would have just been a 3-game series, they would have won 2-1. So I think I predicted. Yeah.
so it was a conspiracy all along.
Yeah.
to get T1 out.
Actually, I had my bracket wrong. I thought they were playing KT, so I actually picked KT. But Bros are playing DRX. Give me the Bros.
Oh,
why
you
would
actually,
you,
you're,
why would
you're
you
doing the bros.
think that Bro would beat DRX after they already didn't beat DRX last time?
Because they did beat DRX in a best of 3. It just happened to be a best of 5, unfortunately.
So if the Bros and DNS are both eliminated, who is the technical last place?
They're tied. It's 8th. It says on the sheet.
Oh, it says on the sheet. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. So I'm going to just give me a good old Bro and a good old DNS down there. I can have one of those. And then that would mean we have DRX versus DK.
Well,
No.
No, not necessarily. Not
even-
necessarily.
I'm not even ready to say that I think KT is going to beat DNS for sure.
Wait, round...
So D
One
plus
winner.
get to pick.
They get to pick. Okay.
So they're picking DRX.
Yeah, they probably pick DRX. So we're still safe, but yes, they do get to pick. That is a very good distinction to make. That would mean that we have Nongshim versus KT rematch. Actually, kinda sick. All right, that is very, very cool. And then the winners of those 2 matches then go into the playoffs, right? And then we have a loser playoff to see who is going to be the
Well, I
last
guess-
team that goes in.
I guess it doesn't really matter what happens in play-ins. It's just because 3 teams are going to make it out, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they get seeded in the playoffs, and BNK4X picks any of them.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then, so you're basically saying, out of DRX, D+, KT, Nongshim, your 7th team is whoever you think doesn't qualify.
Yeah, well, it's the team that loses on Sunday. So it's the team out of DK, DRX, Nongshim, or KT. So it's whoever, like, that's going to be the next team eliminated, right? That's the 3rd team eliminated.
Yeah.
So the
that's
7th
correct.
team is the one that loses in play-ins.
No, because there's a losers bracket.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and The team that loses that.
Oh,
doesn't
right,
go to
yeah,
playoffs.
There's only
yeah.
one losers match in the play-ins.
Yeah.
And then they go to the 6th seed if you win that. And if you win the match 1 on Saturday, you go to playoffs.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it does it like whether so you could think that KT are going to lose or Nongshim are going to lose, but as long as you're confident that they'll beat DRX, it doesn't really matter.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
However, you do need to kind of figure out what the matchup is going to be on that Sunday to see who is going to be able to take it. Because, for example, if you think KT is going to be able to beat Nongshim this time, does DRX manage to beat Nongshim again? If you assume that DK is going to be able to beat DRX.
Unless
Has DK now completely plummeted off the face of the earth after being completely blown up by T1?
that
are they
is-
just going to lose?
That is something you can think about, or you can just think, no, I think this team is just going to lose no matter what.
Huh. And then you just put DRX in that position.
Well, I did not say DRX.
Oh!
It says DRX in 7th
No, I
place right
wrote.
there.
I didn't say DRX.
Oh, you wrote it, though.
I might have written
But
it.
I think by writing it, you are essentially saying it, not verbally, but you have communicated it.
And so we then have T1 waiting in the playoffs alongside Gen G. Gen G will be waiting in the next round, the 2nd round of the playoffs.
With T1. With T1.
With T1, okay. Because
then
they're on the
B&K
winning
are-
side. And then
yeah.
B&K are the first round because they're in the Elder group, and that group came 2nd. I was actually wondering about that, whether they snake the like first seed, 2nd seed sort of thing out of the groups. I'm glad that they did it this way because it works out better for how this one.
I kind of wish
has
we
shaped
got
out.
in the first round of play-ins some inter-group fighting instead of just having a matchup we've already seen. for
Yeah.
both of them. Like I would have rather seen like DRX versus KT and DNS versus Bro.
Yeah, it just ended up that way based off of the amount of wins or
Yeah.
lack of wins if you were a Bro fan or a Bro person.
Unlucky.
Yeah, so it was unlucky. I don't think there was a way to. Maybe you could have done it that way and just kind of forced it. Been like, sorry, you were in the winning group, but you have to play opposite side no matter what. They can do that, but learning lessons.
I think
okay.
it went that way specifically because of how we had the top heavy group and then the very evenly spread group.
Yeah.
With the 3 teams coming out, I guess we have an idea then of what it's going to look like, what the actual bracket is going to look like. Because B&K chooses the weakest team out of the teams that are left.
Yep.
And
Which would
so
be
we're
KT, Nongshim.
The thing is, I feel like
probably KT.
hard to say because it's going to depend on how the matches play out. Based on our current
Ooh, true.
understanding, you could argue that, but then we're going to see them play, and that might change everything.
Let's think about it from B&K's perspective. As that team, which team do you think they feel matches up the best into them and they would want to avoid? I think that they, like,
It's whatever the
they
strong
will
bot
never
lane is.
choose DK, I don't think.
Yeah. They wouldn't choose DK. So I
They
think
might choose Nongshim purely because the bottom lane would be very confident.
I mean, isn't it confident if you play against KT too? They don't even know who their
Oh,
support
that's
is.
true. They don't even know who their
Yeah, I
bottom
think KT
lane
is very clearly the weakest option.
Yeah.
I think KT is probably best for them because the thing is, as much as Lahen's his form has been a little iffy, I think if Taeyun plays like he did in the most recent series, and Lahen's, we know what he is capable of. You know, I think that could be tougher.
I mean, poor
whereas-
Paulo and Ghost, like they found out that Lehens is still like the bottom level of Lehens is still a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Too high.
Yeah. God, they didn't have a great series.
Well,
Whereas
oh god.
I think KT, I think the bot matchup, I think they'll handle them so comfortably.
I think the inverse is you look at mid and jungle, right? You go up against one of the most formidable mid jungles against Vikla and Raptor, who aren't again. Would you rather have Scout and Sponge, or would you rather have BDD Cuz? Like,
I mean, for me, it's kind of interesting because I feel like Scout and Sponge have been kind of getting it together recently.
Yeah.
recently, yes,
Yeah.
I also just think bot lane's so important at the moment.
yeah.
that's fair.
So, it's an awkward one. I personally wouldn't. I think I'd probably just pick the loser of the series. We're probably going to see KT versus Nongshim. And if KT like ramps up and manages to do it again, actually instead of just getting obliterated in the first 2 games, maybe they actually show up and like manage to win. Like maybe that's a decision made for them.
I was so shocked by how high people were on KT. Like when we saw the Preds for that KT Nongshim series, and like they came back and it ended up being an interesting series, but initially it looked like kind of like, what were they thinking? But
I mean, I just kind of put a number in because I had no idea who was going to win that series.
I think it was weird to be extremely confident either way, but it was very weird the confidence that people had in KT, and like that series for me really didn't turn it around. Like I don't think KT is gonna look better. Maybe not until like we get through the first round of LCK.
Yeah, as one of the KT predators for me, it was Nongshim. It was in the game before that. Kingen kind of randomly TPing to the bottom side of the map, trying to force a fight, seeing how terrible. Like we keep finding lows of Lehens, which was frustrating, and then the Butaeun meme. Right? I feel like we learned a lot about
I think
Nongshim.
Taeyun overperformed like absolute crazy in that series.
Yeah.
And I think that was the reason why it made KT predictors look a bit silly.
Yeah, and I think that's
I'm
why.
also like I'm not super hot on KT, and I wasn't before that series, but I'm also not super hot on Nongshim. Like,
Yeah, no, I mean,
that's kind of my like going
Noodles
into
are
the
soggy.
series. That's
Yeah.
my kind of view, and like we've had such a short amount of series coming in that one. I think it's just hard to judge at the moment.
Yeah, I think
The thing
you
is, like,
called
if
it
you-
right.
If you think right, we've had 4 best of 3s and then 1 best of 5, and then we're gonna have, we're gonna have 2 more best of 3s and then 3 best of 5s before B&K FearX decide.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot more data, so
Yeah.
I think it's gonna influence the decision. I think it's hard to know exactly who they're gonna pick, but with how the bracket is in playoffs, we are gonna have like the bracket run, so that's obviously gonna.
Yeah, but I think it goes back to what Max said of just like, hey, who was the lower seed? We'll take them.
And you know what the really fun part is that conversation that we were having about which team is the third best left in the LCK Cup is a decision that Genji has to make. Because it's likely that we're going to get BNK and DK winning their first series in the playoffs.
Yep.
And then Genji has to choose which one they want to face. And are they going to choose DK because they think that
They're the
BNK
low
is the
seed,
team?
yeah.
And maybe Ryu is going to put respect on the boys' names that he coached last year, right? Like knows like how scary they are. But maybe he also says, I know these guys.
Yeah.
We can kill them.
Genji has always played those close games against
That's
D+. We have the stat,
true.
but they always win also.
But also, if you send D plus
game
over to
one for
T1, like think about like you're sending a foe to take on your worst enemy. You don't send D plus against T1.
No.
Like they get
We already
smashed.
saw.
They get
Yeah,
clobbed.
it was,
And
Maybe
again,
like B and K can give that one a crack and see how that goes.
and it was close.
you will
like
learn
in their
more
series, it
from
was
that,
close.
I think.
Yeah.
I
Because
think,
then maybe you're just getting information like what you said. They have to pull out more draft cards or something like
I
that.
think I've done my list. I think
Oh, you've done it already.
Yeah.
Who'd you put in 10th place on your list?
Oh, I didn't actually write the one in yet.
That's already there. That's written in for everyone.
Oh, yeah, it is actually.
Yeah,
That
globally.
one's- that
I
one's
see.
good.
Except
Sorry, I was just
Ultra
trying to
I see
copy
that
him.
now.
See, because since he is tied in Preds with me, I wanted to see if like I could glean any insight from him. So I was just like kind of try to copy his paper for the HLE one.
Oh, it is HLE. Yeah,
Yeah.
I put them. Yeah, I'll put them 10th.
brutal.
Did you also put them 10th?
Yeah, I've got him 10th.
Oh, okay. Dion, what did you put 10th?
It has been written already for me that it's
Oh.
HLE.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, he tried to write bro, but they told him they
Oh,
can't
are you talking from
actually
like
change
a
history?
prophetic standpoint? Like it's already been written, like in the stars
According
or
to me,
something?
KT and Nongshim are going to face off twice. Once in playoffs, once in play-ins. It's kind of crazy.
After Super Week?
Yeah.
Dang.
No.
We're getting a lot of.
Oh yeah,
red
Dan.
versus
Just
red.
to catch you up, yes, HLE are 10th place on mine as well. I don't know whether.
Nice, good,
Confirmed.
good to know. We're aligned.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. What are we doing with the? Are we going all the way from front to back?
So
or-
are we actually doing this right now?
Well, Wolf has 2 names down, so he's.
Oh, that's why he was panic.
No, I didn't know. I
asking.
didn't know we were actually like writing this.
I thought that's what we were doing. We were writing it in.
Yeah, I thought we
It
were
says-
doing that too.
Let's make predictions.
This actually would take like a lot of thought. But I
Let's make
guess-
predictions and tell why.
Yeah. I think. Wait, do we just like? Do we feels predict it, or I'm like actually just writing
Well,
down the bracket to see what the
I-
matchups are going to be, and then
I didn't do the full bracket. I had a vague idea of where the bracket would go because I've written out like the initial teams.
Yeah.
I haven't got exactly specifically every matchup, but I think I have an idea of where I expect things to go. Max is going full. I'm going to write out every step of the bracket.
yeah, that's what I've decided to do. It may not be all that time efficient, but it was a 3-0 today, so who cares?
Yeah.
I think
It's
that's
just really,
fine.
it's really tough to like to actually quantify like whether D+ will pick KT or DRX based on like what we until we see the games there. So it's like really just kind of random guesswork at this point. But
Real quick before we continue to dive into that seriously, Max, have you always been left-handed? Have we talked about this on the Pog State before? Because
Yeah,
if you
all the
can't,
time.
can we? He's wrapping around the microphone to do this. The technique here is.
What do you mean? It's good. It's fine.
It's just so dangerous
Why is it dangerous?
because you could knock over the microphone.
I don't do it that way. As also a left-hander, I just kind of do it like
You're
this.
left-handed too?
Yeah. And Chronicler was left-handed as well. We had more.
Degon, believe it or not, you're left-handed as well. I just saw you wrapping your hand around the microphone.
What the
One
heck?
of us. Okay. So lower seed of round 2. This is actually kind of interesting because technically, like both. But okay. How do you then determine the lowest seed out of BNK and DK? So it'd be. So if I'm assuming that BNK and DK are going to lose,
So if you
then
look at
DK is in the first low bracket round 2, and
If
then
you-
BNK are in low
Yes.
bracket round.
if you
3.
look
Yes,
at
yes, yes,
standings,
yes, yes.
everyone is given like. So I'm pretty sure.
You're right, Max.
So you know how they have like play-ins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm pretty sure that's a seeding.
Yep.
So when they're funneled in, that is their seed.
Yes, the play-ins teams will have that as their seed. So D+ will always supersede anyone else.
My DK bias is showing. They're third again.
What?
That's
What?
not that crazy.
Why did I do that again?
It's
I feel
not-
like they're going to beat B and K.
I mean, it's not that. I didn't do it, but it's not that crazy.
No, I know, but I feel like I should go back to what I was talking about before, where I was saying that I actually believe that they're the better team.
It's crazy to me to think that, like, I don't want to trust it, but I think that KT will beat DRX, even though DRX is higher in the standings.
Wow, you are well in the past. I'm at the grand final, baby.
Well, that's the easy part.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was there
Okay.
for like 2 seconds.
Here's my point about the standings. Not to help you out, but part of the standings factor is DRX played Bro in the best of 5, and KT played Nongshim. So yes, DRX are higher in the standings,
Yeah.
but they also got to play Bro in a best of 5, which
True.
gave them a series win and a lot of game score difference.
Yeah, it does pump up the score just a little.
Yeah.
I'm probably actually gonna switch to B&K beating and then T1 versus B&K.
Really?
Yeah,
You didn't stick with it.
no, I didn't stick with it. I'm sick of being.
Wait, you think T1 are going to beat B&K?
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah, good. I've got the bracket. We can tell Leaguepedia to fill it in.
Wait, who'd you have in the
figured
grand
it out.
final?
Hilarious. I've got T1 and Gen G
Wait,
in
you have
the upper bracket final and the grand final.
You have T1 and Gen G or Gen G and T1?
Gen G and T1,
Okay.
I guess, is what.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Gen G were waiting, and then T1 needed to take a sec to
Yeah.
go and
Yeah.
beat B&K, and then they came back for another go,
Yeah.
and then they failed again.
Wait, where are HLE in your bracket?
Oh, I can't find them. Oh, wait, no, they're in red in 10th place here on the prediction.
What do
sheet.
you do?
Guys, I gotta.
What do you do?
I feel like they're a little bit left out, so I'm just gonna put a little HLE over here.
Uh-huh.
They're kind of just floating over here. They're doing their own thing.
You really chose...
So who do you
Chose
guys?
finalists
Okay, the real question
today.
is who do you
Yeah,
guys
man.
think wins the finals? Like,
what do you mean? I think that Gen G will not lose a game.
I think it's T1.
Well-
Reverse sweep Reno.
I mean, I said this
I,
last.
I,
Pog
I, I
Sta-
find
Pog
it really
State.
difficult to actually quantify.
I think they'll probably lose a game at some point, but I don't think they're going to lose a series. I said this last Pog State.
Yeah, I
I
think
stand
Gen
by
G are
it.
way too good.
I think they're very good at League of Legends.
They are very good, but I also think that Owner is way better than Canyon right now. And it's a snowballing meta. T1 is super resilient.
I think, is this spicy? I think Faker is playing better than Chovy right now.
I actually agree with that. Although Chovy today was actually, yeah, that Yone game was insane.
The thing is, I feel
Not
like
in
I
lane.
mean, it was
Not
terrible
in
in lane.
In lane, it was very
Yeah.
bad.
However, he did play some pretty crazy
I mean, but he was
skirmishes.
landing in a tough matchup.
I feel like last year. I mean, I think like general Faker's laning has sometimes been a little bit rough, but that's actually been really good recently. I think Canyon has been in better form in the LCK Cup than he was at times last year. But
Yes.
I think,
And especially in
but I
this
think Owner
series.
has been just in great form for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, in defense of Chovy, like he also had to like bail out that stupid team fight that Canyon opted into, and
Yeah.
lost
Yes,
his lane
that's
further
correct.
because
But
of
I
it.
also
I think that
think-
the bottom lane matchup is probably one of the greatest things that we're going to see, though, because I think that is incredibly evenly matched at the moment. I think that's really, really fun to watch.
I kind of want to give the support edge to T1, but the AD carry edge to Genji a little bit.
I mean,
Because Pays has made a
did
few
you
mistakes.
Watch how Duro played.
Yeah, I was
today?
gonna
He
say, I feel like it's
so
flipped.
Good.
I don't know.
And not by much. Again, Carry is playing really well as well, but Duro is making plays for the team.
out
I
of
wanted to vote for
control.
Duro so badly. Did you guys vote for Duro on the desk? I can't
We did.
We did.
I didn't.
Okay.
I went Keen.
I had to
But-
go for Keen, but I was like, I feel so.
The having to
tragic.
go for Keen thing is the reason why I think Gen G smashed them. I think that like
I feel like Keen's
Keen is just
been
so good.
insane.
I think it's hard. It's hard for me to predict T1 unless I'm trying to like just throw a curveball for funsies. But I do find it dishonest if I just say I think Genji wins and it's kind of a freebie. Like I will reluctantly write Genji down, but I don't.
Yeah, I think you also just like have a look at the postcode where it's being played, and you're like, oh, it's Gen G, and they're in Seoul. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's actually
It's not in Seoul.
It's actually
Oh,
in Seoul.
oh!
Here's the part
Scratch
of the
that.
podcast
T1's
that
probably
That
going
was
to
a
win.
sick segue into
That's
talking
a
about
great
the fact that we're
segue.
going to Hong Kong for the final.
Ah, well, we
Great
are in
job,
Seoul at the
Max.
moment. However, we are going to be providing coverage of the LCK Cup in Hong Kong. So that final will not be postcoded unless the postcodes are the same in Hong Kong and Seoul.
Which is
which
unlikely.
Unlikely, yeah.
Unlikely.
Possible.
We can investigate
But
that while we're
unlikely.
there.
Yeah, we'll have to have a look. I don't know what the postcode. What zips you got over here?
Can we actually stall our predictions until we've investigated that?
Zombie, get on it. Don't actually. We don't need to know what the postcodes are. So that's a big fumble on me, but very, very cool to talk about because we are just going to be traveling for the LCK Cup final. Just pretty cool. Heading on over to Hong Kong. So that might change things, but it probably won't.
I mean, I don't think you should predict based on that, but it would be.
The thing is, right? The thing is, the critical piece of information is that Gen.G are still actually very good at internationals that aren't called Worlds.
Yeah.
So
That's what I should have done because it's not the peanut rule. The peanut rule is location based, where like if you had to travel like beyond like a very short KTX ride, he's just doomed. And then that was always the problem. So he had to be like the same postcode, but he's not on that team and hasn't been for a very long time and is no longer playing in the LCK, which is sad. Sorry, Fizz Khalifa.
I put it in pen. It's T1.
I put it in pen and it's Gen.G.
I just think that
Okay.
with Pays, they are just a different team, I think.
well, they are a different team because they have a different carry.
We are now. Did
Are
the
you
clock
saying
tick
that
over?
with Pays, they are now a much better team? Is that what you're saying, Digon?
I think the play.
Are you saying that
How's
really
your
wanna do
PR?
this.
How's your PR? Let's test it. Let's go.
Would you say that removing the World Finals MVP from the roster and replacing it with someone who didn't go to Worlds makes them a better team?
Are you saying the World's Finals MVP being removed from this roster makes them #limitless? That sounds like kind of like what you're saying. Because I personally I put Gen.G in.
When I analyze the play,
He's humming.
Game 2 of D plus T1, their best of 5. Faker got to tell owner, sit in this bush for like 45 seconds. We're going to set up a play that catches us back up.
He
after
probably said hide on Bush.
hide on bush.
Yeah.
Come on, Dan. Come on, Dan. And then it allowed Pays to come back up and just show up there instantly, and the team was humming. Like, Faker is playing and
So Gumayushi
controlling.
wouldn't
I'm
have done
getting
that.
real tired
So
of
well.
your Gumayushi slander, to be honest. After all this, you're gonna somehow say like they only
you
won the
saying
world
that-
championship
yeah,
because the owner
Gumayushi
knows how to
couldn't
hide
have
on the bush
right-clicked
and
to
listen
that
to
part of the
Baker?
map?
But did you see Gumayushi's ash in that game?
It was great.
He was great, actually.
Finals MVP.
I agree with you 100%. I just think it's really funny to make you have to defend it.
That's why people watch usually me on podcasts. It's watching me stress out and think how not to get canceled.
I'll tell you guys one thing. You know, I've been labeled a Guma Glazer and a Guma Anti many
In some of the
times
same Reddit threads
on
at
the
the
same
same
day at the
time.
same time. Yes,
Yeah.
I have one thing against Gumayushi, and I'm gonna put it out there. This is the only thing I'm being like hand on my heart. Is it supposed to be the left hand? I don't know.
It's right hand.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right
but
hand,
I-
left
I-
side.
What if you're left-hand
I'm
dominant?
left-handed though, so like that's why my watch is on my right. I don't know.
Your heart's still in the same spot, yeah.
But like,
You're
if
not
we
just
had
a
a
mirrored
Bible, I'd
human.
put my hand on it. My one problem I have with Gumayushi is that he was the MVP when they stopped KT Rolster from winning the world championship. That's it. All right, I've put it all out there. It's publicly released now. So take that as you will.
Okay.
Crazies.
I don't know what to make of it personally. However, I do think that Pays is better at more champions and allows T1 to play more compositions that they are good at playing together.
I do appreciate that we're having the like sudden Guma confession session. What do you think about this, Ox?
Yeah, how you feeling, Ox?
I feel okay. I just don't know how we got to this topic of conversation.
I know, I don't know either.
I mean, for some reason, Deacon just started slandering Guma.
That's not what happened. Ox, who's in 10th place?
On my sorry, are we talking my sheet or Max's sheet?
So anyway, yeah, anything to share?
Oh, we so shit.
Come on, like we all joined hands.
Yeah,
in
we're on
this.
the Bible
Okay.
here. We're in the confessional.
So-
No one can hurt you.
On what?
The former T1 80 carry, current 80 carry of Hanwha Life Esports, first eliminated from first stand contention.
Do you think that T1 are looking better now than they have been last year?
After a change in the 80 carry position.
We do
That
have
just
to bear
happened
in
to happen.
mind
That just happened.
T1 did win the world championship, and are therefore heralded as the greatest team in the universe because they won that one tournament last year.
And the player who changed was the MVP of that.
Because there's another thing that we could talk about, and that is the amount of weight put on Worlds as far as determining the better team.
I think it's too early to say, right? Because we've only seen like a short amount of play. They won Worlds with Guma. We've seen a couple of weeks worth of play. I think this is clearly...
You're hired as Deacon's new PR manager.
Clearly the style of play they wanted to run when they had Smash on the roster, which was more like a funnel resources, hyper carry, AD carry, which works with the meta we have, where like every AD carry has 1 million gold for the quest and cashback.
There's also like the plug and play aspect. I don't think anyone thought that Pays was going to plug into T1 this effectively.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of stems from the fact that like, you know, they scrimmed and played a lot with Smash, who I think stylistically was more similar to Pays than
And also,
than
Pays
Guma.
just doesn't really... He's not much of a talker. Although, I don't know whether he isn't in-game. He just doesn't feel like... He feels like an implement to be wielded.
Yeah.
You know?
Which I think
works as an AD carry.
Which is, I think, is kind of what, you know, they were trying to wield Smash as.
Yeah.
I also think AD carry is of every role in the team the easiest to
Plug and
sub
play.
into it, plug and play, to
Yeah.
sub into a team.
And which is why HLE are a different one to talk about when you're adjudicating the two changes, right? Because they also lost the captain of the team.
Yep.
Which makes it so difficult.
That's what I mean. Like, I think, you know, everyone's lens has been focused with HLE on the AD carry role because that was the biggest, highest profile change. But I think the one that actually had the most impact was jungle, because jungle is all the
100%.
systems and stuff like that. And
And I mean, the thing is, like, it's interesting because you can't directly compare the difference in HLE to the difference in T1 because I personally feel like T1 look better,
Yeah.
like just across the board. And there's no real way to determine that. It's just the eye test, and I feel like the eye test is being passed. Like I feel so much more confident. Like even the circus games, I'm like, well, I mean, Pays is still just going to kill everyone because he's just farming 1 billion items.
The only two things I would say to that is like last year at this point in time, we were super high on D+, and they looked really good. And then by the end of the tournament, we were like, they stink, right? And again, I'm not saying T1 are necessarily going to do that, but I still think it's super early to call it. And the other thing I'll say...
that's what we're here for. We're here to call it because it's super early.
well, yeah, I'm just...
That's what the sheet is for, yeah.
And the other thing I'll say is that there has been some games where I think like Casper Cup Pays looked phenomenal. I think LCK Cup, there's been some games where, you know, he struggled a bit, right? Like they came back from a 13k goal deficit. They were in a 13k goal deficit. Their first match against HLE, he was like targeted heavily and kind of struggled in it. It hasn't been all smooth sailing, even though they've looked really good. So
Pays is...
I just want to see more.
I think Pays, to me, like when I compare these two AD carries, it's not about the champion pool as much as it's about play style. Like Guma is super reliable, Pays is super aggressive in a different way. It's like Guma's a longsword and Pays is a scimitar, you know, that kind of like, you know, maybe a little bit more robust, the longsword, like can get you out of some situations, can be used a little bit more safely than a scimitar
chop
is just
down
kind
a
of
tree, maybe.
all danger. Like,
And
but-
also, in those games where Pays was getting focused early on in the tournament, very similar to the games today that Guma had to play, especially that game number 2. It felt like he was the focus of the opposing team. I forgot who they were playing the first couple games, but I was just like, oh my gosh, they are disregarding what Faker's doing. They're disregarding what Owner's doing. They're just like, we got to kill the AD carry, which was kind of what happened to Guma today when he was playing Misfortune and just didn't have a lot
Week
of
one,
tools.
new patch, everybody was like, bottom lane is the only place to be. Obviously, we learned later that there's multiple ways to play this meta, but at that time, for sure, yeah.
I'm
And I feel like
also-
today was the same.
Yeah.
I also really just want to see T1 play Genji because I feel like right now, based on what we've
How
seen,
about twice?
yeah, they're the only team I expect to be like a good match. Like I'm hesitant to like fully get like a judgment of T1 and how they look with the new roster until we see them face a team who actually are their real match, right? Because yes, they looked good so far, but like you know we've
I
seen
think the owner Canyon conversation is the big one. I think that's like as far as the mismatch between the two teams are concerned. I think the bottom lane matches up super well.
But I don't think it's just a lineup thing. I think it's the problem solving that they've shown so far in the tournament. So we'll use Genji today with the leads, constant leads that Hanwha had early in all 3 games. They found a fight, whether it was given to them or not. They found ways to force fights that allowed them to get back in and then close the game out. With T1, they had the 13,000 gold deficit or 14,000 gold deficit, which is bad in its own right, but they found a way to win. In the game against D+, in game 2, they found a way to win when the Rise was getting focused and the Gangs didn't quite work out. Like, that to me is the interesting part. It's how are they going to problem solve against each other, and how many times do they have to do it per game to find a win eventually? Like, that's the exciting part.
I mean, it's definitely gonna be exciting, but I think the point that I'm trying to make is more so that like we've seen T1 look really good and have these good runs, and then they get like a regular season or maybe a playoff match against Gen G, and that's the momentum killer, or like the one that like brings it back to reality. So
Yeah.
I want to see that. I want to see how that spanner in the works affects things, or maybe it doesn't, and maybe they just they overcome
I mean,
it.
remember that Genji didn't play in Kespa Cup, and
The full roster, yeah.
and T1 won the finals against the Hanwha that was eliminated in 10th place, and that was like the biggest test. And KT was so far really the biggest test against T1 in some ways. They passed it, right? But like, I kind of feel like with my eye test, I trust like this Genji Pride over T1 still to me feels like a 51-49, and like I don't even. Then when you look at the teams that Genji played also so far, like in Group Elder, I'm like, what have they really proved, by the way? Like, you know?
Yeah, it's the same. They played the same teams.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I do want to add a bit of a caveat, I guess, an explanation. We're not really talking about is Gumayushi better than Pays? It's more about
Only
like,
Digon was, of course.
Yeah, only Digon was. But it's more about like whether like this version of T1 looks better than what we were expecting them to look like, and I think they definitely look better than what we were expecting. That's what
Especially this
that's what
early
I'm
in the
saying.
season.
Yeah.
They always take time to ramp up.
They look like they may not have as many limits.
Limitless, yeah.
Limitless.
Oh, that's a good tagline.
You hear that? Police are coming for you, Digon.
If you guys didn't hear it, there was in fact the sound of a police car outside.
Thursday?
Is what?
I kind of went hard on Wolf earlier, and then
Yeah, he misquoted me.
I misquoted
and I did
him.
say I was
didn't
coming back.
misquote him. We just extrapolated what he meant, and then he has.
And he's still making excuses. Wolf.
deserve
Can
it.
you believe it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, tell it to the guy who's gonna pick you up with the silver things.
I don't know what that means. We are definitely getting a little bit off track. This is, of course, talking about the Monty Wolf show that is no longer called it's the LCK. What I kind of thought it was a bit of a. I didn't like the title. What's the new title?
Let's cover Korea.
Let's cover.
Ooh,
'cause it's
cross
still
promotion?
LCK.
Can I
Let's
try
cover
promote?
Korea.
Also, if you want more in
it's
the
funny.
decision on the AD carry decision that T1 made, I did an interview with Joe Marsh, and he talks about it there.
Whoa.
Yeah, he talked about it, not Digon, of course. So we got
Cross-promoting
Digon's true thoughts
on
here.
the Pog
I
State?
didn't really want that much cross promotion. I was okay with it just a little bit, but I'm glad that we got a little bit more than we were bargaining for.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. But we are going to
Shameless.
be heading into the play-ins pretty soon. Got a bunch more best of threes until we get into all best of fives, and then it is off to Hong Kong for a couple more games. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the LCK Cup. For this episode, though, this is it. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time for more Pog State. Make sure you do all of the subscribing and all that sort of cool stuff, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye!